have traversed the tombs of Naxxramas. We've climbed every cliff on Black Rock. Now the world cries out for heroes. As a new evil rises, there will be danger. There will be doom. There will be ancient temples filled with relics, treasures, and traps. Who will answer the call?
Explorers lead, and we are in need of explorers. Adventure we seek, cross land and sea. Won't you come and join us?
Yes!
Hey guys, and welcome back to Season 2 of the StarLadder and I-League Championship. I'm Tannen Grace, and I'm joined today by Lothar. And we're about to have a pretty big matchup here, but let's do a little small recap. We had Jab beating Nigria in the first round today. He's moved on to 2-1, and he's about to come back into our next match. And then our second match, we had 6-0 get on the board and in the winning way against Firebat. So he's at 1-2 as well, also putting Firebat at 1-2. Yes. But our next round is it's the two players facing off that have 2 wins so far, Jab at 2-1 and Trump at 2-0, and Trump was impressive yesterday, was he not?
Yeah, definitely impressive with how he played the games, but this is the important match for him, because if he just wins, he can just breeze out on the 4th one, and because he is advancing almost 100%, right? Sixer is on 1-2, Firebat is on 1-2, and Area is on 1-2, and every player from that group will only be having maximum 2-2 score. So if he wins right now and puts Jab on the 2-2 score, that means even if he loses the 4th one, there's no way someone will surpass his score, and that means he's already advancing.
Yep, so that means that this match pretty important. It looks like it's going to be practically a win-in for both these guys. As you said, Trump practically locked if he wins. I got to believe Jab is pretty much locked if he wins as well, because he will be 3-1. And so either one of these guys, if they win, they have made it through this group. So this is a pretty big match. This is the biggest one that we've had so far between these guys. We're going to have our first player advancing out of these groups, and they've played for 2 days here in the Conquest format. All the information is out there. These guys know what the decks are from each person. There's going to be no more surprises here. And speaking of that, Trump got to go last yesterday, and you talked about how it was probably a little bit to his advantage to do so, and it seems that he was able to use that advantage and take advantage of it and get that 2-0 lead, like you said.
Yeah, and now the lineups from both players are, of course, sporting Warlocks, as you said a few times already during the 2 days. Every single player is bringing a Warlock, but Trump is bringing the Zoo deck. Right, the aggressive Zoo with inclusion of the new Dark Peddler, which is an insanely good and flexible card in its mana spot, because it can be used as a 2 mana card. It's still okay to have a 2/2 minion. It's kind of underpowered, but it still gives you a card draw. So you can think of it like a better Novice Engineer in this example, because usually it seems that it will give you a card that probably you would have played in the deck in the first place. It might be a PO, it might be just a 2/1 minion, and just might be a Flame Imp if you want, if you'll be lucky. So it's a good true drop, and it still acts like a free drop if you want to have more board control and just get whatever minion for 1 mana there will be from the discovery and just slam it on the board. So a very interesting and flexible card that was introduced by League of Explorers, Hearthstone Adventure.
Thank you for singing it. I was about to say, we talked about this yesterday. You were singing this in between the games, but it never got caught on camera. I'm so happy that everybody at home gets to experience this, because I shouldn't be the only one who gets to listen and get serenaded by Lothar. You should be doing it for all the fans at home as well. You have a beautiful voice, Lothar.
I should bring my guitar, right? And
I was gonna say, I see it in the background, so maybe we could have a little acoustic Hearthstone show here later. Jab is also bringing a Zoo deck, if I remember correctly, here as well. His lineup, pretty aggressive. He's got Zoo, he's got Hunter, he's got Druid. And speaking of aggression, we saw one of the most aggressive draws I have ever seen in Hearthstone in our first round today. Jab had a turn 4 lethal in round 1. If you missed it, guys, go back, watch the VOD, watch the replay here today. You will not be disappointed. One of the craziest games I have ever seen in Hearthstone, period, anywhere. Ladder, StarLadder, like, ED Games, Challenge Stone, never seen anything like that before. And unbelievable to see that in a tournament setting and in a big setting like that as well.
This is when this is what happens when the druid gets 4 cards that are granting him mana acceleration. Darnassus Aspirant, 2 Innervates, and an Emperor, and a coin. Well, the coin wasn't important at all because it wasn't used. It was still turn 4 with 5 mana, Innervate for combo for 7 mana. So it was quite crazy.
Yes, so for anyone who missed it, it was a turn 2 Darnassus into a turn 3 Emperor into a turn 4 combo from Jab. You had 5 mana on turn 4, used the discount from Emperor plus the 2 mana from an Innervate to deal, I think it was 31 damage over the span of the game. He was 1 over lethal. It wasn't exact lethal, but still one of the craziest draws I have ever seen in the competitive scene. And we're waiting for these guys to queue up their decks. It seems like they're ready to go. We're just getting like some last things out of the way. So we're going to have some Hearthstone here for you any second. But this is going to be a pretty big matchup. We mentioned that either one of these guys wins, they're through to the next round. It's going to be another group stage after this one. And then whoever makes it through those group stage are going to be going to a LAN final in January as well. A lot of money on the lines for these guys and a lot of prestige as well. This is one of the most stacked fields I have ever seen in my life in a Hearthstone event. So this is one of those tournaments that you win that you put to the top of your resume, Lothar. You're like, yeah, I won that one. I beat everyone in that field.
Definitely true. Like this is very stacked, and I love seeing how players are behaving in that kind of environment because it seems like they have a quite different vibe when you play in an open tournament with and when you play in an invitational tournament. It seems like players are bringing different type of lineups for those events, and it's very cool to see the different type of approach.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And like, it seems like everyone has just brought their A game as well. Everyone's trying really hard. You're seeing some insane decks here. We're seeing the new one that's really popular from last week since Purple's victory. We've seen a lot of that new, like, what would you name that deck? It's like this new Warlock deck. It's like a Malagos lock deck, but it has Brand's Bronzebeard in it. It does these double battle cry triggers. It has all these crazy plays that you could make. And so it's like this mishmash control combo deck. I mean, do we need a new title for that deck? It seems like it's pretty popular.
Well, I don't know, man. It's just like Malagos Warlock, right? When you think of the deck, I feel like just saying Malagos Warlock implies that you have to get it Brand Bronzebeard in that deck. It's just so it fits so well, into that archetype. You have so many battle cries there. The mini ball healing for 16 is just insane. And that's just it.
I just want to see the Keys and Mystic double battle cry. I haven't seen it yet. I've seen the excuse me. I've seen the heal for 16. I've seen the 6 damage from Corruptors. We saw someone draw 2 cards from an Azure Drake today. That seemed great. I just want to see someone really punish somebody and steal like Noble Sacrifice Redemption or something, or Noble Sacrifice and Avenge, and just really get that Paladin deck.
Yeah, this is something that is really crazy when you think about it. Double Chasm Mystic is just so much value.
Mm-hmm. And God forbid you ever do it against a mage deck. That's even more value. If you were somehow to get 2 different secrets, like if you were to get Ice Block and Ice Barrier at the right time against a Freeze Mage deck, I don't know how they ever beat that. That would just be unbelievable.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm. So
let's hope now that both players they know of the opponent's lineup, but it's Conquest, and we discussed that yesterday, that when someone knows about the lineup anyway, it's usually the best move to just randomize how the decks are being ordered.
No, I completely agree with you, and we talked about this too. I know one of your teammates is big on that as well, but you made me a believer of it too. I sat there and tried to analyze this whole matchup, and I was like, what do you lead off with? If this guy leads off of Warlock, then you want to lead off of Druid. But if you lead off of Druid, he leads off with this, then you're in trouble. And you're like, man, you should just do it randomly. It's the best way to do it, and it makes sense. It takes away, some stuff from your opponent being able to guess what you're going to do. It also takes some pressure off of you as well. A little less stress in your life is always great, because Hearthstone can be quite stressful sometimes.
Oh yeah, that's true. So not exactly sure what are the players waiting for, but seems like they're both relaxed. Jab is like I'm always wondering if Jab even breathes. He's like
Yeah. I was about to say this. He has the best poker face, or one of the best poker faces. It's him and our current world champion Osaka. I feel like
and
if you
Hoey
were,
and
oh
Hoey.
yeah, Hoey's pretty good too. Osaka, I've always made the joke that when he's playing, it doesn't matter if you have a camera up or a picture of him because you're getting the exact same thing from both.
Yeah, that's true. And Jab seems to be very similar. Right now, he moves his ice balls, so we know it's live. But yeah, when
Somebody
he's
go check on Jab.
when he's playing, he's like usually just doesn't move at all. So it's quite hilarious when you think about it.
Yeah. I think
yeah.
the only movement we got from him in his first match was after the turn 4 win, he did a little bit of a fist pump because it was a big win for him, getting the second win and putting him in a big position to make it out of this group. But also a little fist pump that's the best draw I've ever gotten in a Hearthstone game in my life. And it just happened to be in a huge tournament for a lot of money.
Yeah, that's true. Like, that was the winning draw, right? And
Right.
it's very funny to see like most players have almost the same position also when playing Hearthstone. Everyone is like,
Yeah.
this is the common posture that a Hearthstone player brings to the table when he's playing in a competitive environment. So it's very fun to see that people all around the world have the same posture, when playing a logical game, right? Because when you're playing an example CS:GO, or when you're playing other card games, other games that are just more paced faster than Hearthstone, then they usually the players are sitting quite different, and they also use both of their limbs. So
Yeah, they got to use a little bit more. But I was gonna say I come from a poker background, and it's nice to see people actually show emotion during events. I don't know if you've ever seen poker or watched it on TV or anything before, but everyone has the prototypical poker face. Like no one makes you control your breathing. You go that far, because you're so stoic outside, but inside you're just screaming. You're just like because it's like such a panic-inducing moment, and because it's moments of boredom highlighted by moments of sheer terror, and you still can't tell that from anyone, but you get to see it in Hearthstone. You see the little fist pumps. You see people get excited. One that always comes to mind is RDU winning the ATLC championship for you guys last season, and him winning and just putting both of his hands up in the air, like when he won during the last game. That was a great moment to see, and I love seeing players during games, laughing off plays or really getting into the spirit of the competition.
yeah, that's true. Like when I still remember the moment when RDU won the last game, he was like so static till the moment he actually knew he was winning, and then all those emotions were freed. So it was very similar to the Osaka and this current World Championships, and the one that he did actually win in the finals. Usually, as you said, he's a very calm, stoic person, right? But when he won the World Championships, he just couldn't stop laughing, And if he would still be that guy that doesn't move a muscle when the game is going on, I wouldn't just believe it, But when he won those 100K and title, that I think that was very important to get for him. Not even the monument itself, but the world title moves him a lot.
Yeah, all right, so quick update for you guys. We had a small spectator problem with Hearthstone. Anyone who's ever used it before knows that every now and then it likes to act up, but we should be getting into the game very, very, very soon. So just any second now, Hearthstone is going to be starting. But yeah, man, you're talking about it. It is a weird situation when you're in a giant tournament and you've got it kind of wrapped up. You talk about RDU realized he was going to win maybe like a turn or two before. He's like, oh my God, we just won, ATLC. Or Osaka's like, oh my God, I just became the world champion. I'm about to win BlizzCon. And it's such a surreal moment for those guys. They're sitting there and they have to play out those turns, but you're going to win. And I just don't know how they keep it in. I'd be bouncing around my chair. I'd be getting up and running around the room. I would have so much nervous energy. I mean, I get a lot of energy just watching Hearthstone, playing it. I mean, I have to like nail myself to the seat.
Yeah, you know what's funny? When I play the game, I'm less nervous than I'm when I'm watching my players play.
Oh yeah.
This is like, and I was in the semifinals of DreamHacks, and it was a high pressure moment for me. But I still kind of remember I was even a little nervous. And when I was just watching live coach RDU Thais play LTC, I was just I couldn't sit. I couldn't sit and watch the games because it was so nerve breaking for me.
Yeah, I actually got to experience that firsthand with you at BlizzCon, watching Tice play. You were a nervous wreck. I mean, I don't think you stood still for a complete second. You were running around, walking around, pacing, and I think you wanted him to win more than he did, which is just, talks about how good of a manager you are. But it looks like we actually have our games up, and Jab's going to start out with Druid, and how can you blame him after that last game that he had? And Trump's going to start out with Zoo. Traditionally, this has been a pretty good matchup for Zoo in the history of Hearthstone, but Druid, it's got some new tools over the last couple months that have helped out this matchup a little bit.
Yeah, actually, when you think about it, the Mounted Raptor will help really a lot in this matchup. It does allow you to have probably double trades, and this is very important against Zoo because they have a lot of value. They're putting a lot of minions, so the Raptor instead of Shadow of Necromus allows you to have the trade as soon as possible, as soon as the Raptor hits the board, and still have a drop that it will probably trade with another minion next turn. So, very important change for Jab in this particular matchup.
And great start here from Trump. He's going to have a turn 1 Flame Imp into a Dark Peddler, into another Flame Imp if he wants, or a Power Overwhelming. You got to believe he's not going to go for the Blood Imp here, a little less powerful than the other cards. He's going to go ahead and take the Flame Imp here. It's another big aggressive body for not a lot of mana. And it allows him to curve out really well, too, because he already has an Abusive Sergeant in his hand to kind of go as a pseudo power overwhelming kind of effect. So I think he just wants another minion here because you've talked about this a lot. A lot of people who play Hearthstone know that one of the weaknesses of Druid is it's not able to deal with a bunch of minions at once.
Yeah, that's true. And Druid has just problems to make a comeback here. And now we see that Jab holds on to that coin because he knows he can play the Keeper of the Grove next turn to kill a 2 HP minion, which will probably be every single minion that will be played by Zoo. But at the same time, he's withholding that Raptor, and this is something I'm not sure about, because you have a chance to draw Wrath or Second Raptor or Darnassus Aspirant for next turn, and you have access to the Raptor and its drop for the next turn. So you will probably do the same outcome as the Keeper,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of agree with you there a little bit. Like, it might be very important just to get something on the board, but I think he just values getting this Keeper down on turn 3 so much into having a curve behind that. I think he was a little worried about missing the next card, and maybe that's a detriment, to him there, just being so worried about that. Trump's start is so aggressive and so good, getting so much value off this Abusive Sergeant here. He's going to be able to trade up into this Keeper of the Grove and keep the pressure going. These double Flame Imps have been doing so much damage here. Jab is on the back foot immediately. He just has to swipe here and hope that Trump is just out of gas, but we've seen that Trump has one of the perfect cards to follow all this up with.
Yeah, and it's even more funny that the swipe didn't really do much. Just killed Abusive Sergeant, damage the Flame Imp, and the Flame is just laughing to Druid's face. Just still dealing 3 damage per turn. The damage that was dealt to the Warlock as a drawback doesn't really matter in this stage of the game. So Jab is in a really tough position.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that this game seems pretty unwinnable for Jab here, especially with, the Defender of Argus coming off the top. It's another great minion for Trump to be able to add here. Yeah,
so,
exactly.
GG. Hopefully this player won't miss lethal. And it will be 1-0 for Trump right now.
A little bit of dagger there from you, Lothar. I like it.
I have to, I have to.
Yeah, of course. It's all good. But yeah, Trump's going to have exactly 5 here this turn. He probably was going to be able to win this through next turn as well over Jab. So a quick 1-0 lead here for Trump, getting one of the matchups that he really wants there with his Warlock deck. That seems to be just one of the better matchups for him in this lineup as well, because, you know, Hunter could be kind of rough at times, but Druid, especially with the start that Jab had in that game, which wasn't very good, just seems like it's all in favor of Trump.
Yeah, now he is very happy about the win that he got, because usually don't want to play Zoo into Hunter. Even though Jab is running the mid-range one, he still has the access to unleash the hounds, and can be devastating for the Zoo player if that's paired up with the knife jugglers. So he's pretty happy with dodging that matchup. And Paladin should be also very good matchup against the Droid. So I'm guessing that Trump will lead off with that right now. Yes, but Jab is switching to his Warlock deck.
Yeah, so we're going to see Jab take his hand at Zoo here. This time, both guys' lists seem to be pretty similar. Not a big, too many changes in it. But Trump is one of the other players playing a little bit of a different Paladin deck. He is playing the more like mid-range centric deck. You know, he's got Keepers of Uldaman, you know, a lot of 4 and 5 drops in his deck. He's not that like really aggressive secret deck that, you know, has just been all over the place for the last few months.
Yeah, that's true. Now he has the perfect start with the Flame Imp, which guarantees him some board control in the beginning, which is what Zeus strives for in the first turns, especially against Priest. Like the Flame Imp against Priest is one of the most important cards that you can get.
Yeah, and Jab getting, you know, the same start that Trump did, Flame Imp into Dark Peddler here, but his choice for the Dark Peddler, not as good as Trump's were. He's going to get a Shield Bearer, though. Not terrible. It's going to be able to protect his minions over the next turn or two. So a little bit of value for him there. He's even got an Abusive Sergeant and a Void Terror, so he can kind of get maybe some value off of his Shield Bearer here if, you know, that comes up. And Trump is going to go ahead and just play out this Knife Juggler here just to force Jab to trade into it and kind of slow down, using it kind of as a removal spell here. So I don't mind this play from Trump at all. His hand is a little clunky, and he just needs to get stuff going.
Yeah, and I mean, he is still clunky because his Keeper of Uldaman can be really played in this situation unless he will target the Imp Gang boss. It will set up him at a nice trade in the upcoming turn, but at the same time, it's just switching the 1 HP for one attack at that minion. And the Master of Battle seems really bad against the Imp Gang boss, but he has to go for it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the way to get the best value out of your Keeper of Uldaman, and he's actually going to put a damage on this Flame Imp here, allowing him to possibly trade into it next turn. It does make him take a little bit of extra damage here from his weapon. You know, he takes an extra 3 from the Flame Imp here, but it gives him better options on the next turn. He's not just going to have to run in his entire board into some of the stuff. So Trump is making a little bit of headway. You know, he does have this Keeper of Uldaman to kind of power stuff up over the next turn. He does have an anti-Keel bot in his hand to kind of retake back some of these life points that, I mean, because he's just getting run over here in the early game by Jab. So he's going to be able to, you know, heal up some of this that he's leaving behind. And the Shield Bearer, this is going to play a big role here in this game.
And now we can see also that's hilarious when you think about it. That's
wow.
The card that was he ripped the Consecration right from the top. Will that allow him to stay back into the game? I mean, that was the only out that was practically doing something, right? Otherwise, he was overrun by those minions. But now he's back into the game.
Yeah, just like you said, probably the best draw in his deck. He's going to be able to, you know, pretty much clear most of this board down here. There's going to be a 2-1 Imp Gang boss here, so he doesn't have to just use the Keeper of Uldaman, make some awkward trades, and then take a bunch of damage. I think that was possibly game-saving from him. And here is a big spot for Jab. Does he just move in with his Doomguard here, deal 7 to Trump and put him down to 7 and just hope he doesn't have an answer to a Doomguard, or does he keep developing his board? It looks like that's what he's going to do.
Yeah, he is keen on developing the board when I think maybe the aggressive route would have been better. We know that Paladin now is sporting additional peacekeepers in form of the Keeper of Uldaman. But how can you play around that? Yeah,
I mean, he's playing around a lot of things here. There's, you know, the Keeper of Uldamans, there's Peacekeepers, there's anti-Keelbot that makes some of these plays bad. So I don't hate this play from Jab. He is getting on the board a little bit. Plus the Doomguard is still in his hand for next turn. This gives him the chance to maybe draw one drop and just, have a perfect turn next turn. But you have to weigh the options there. Am I winning this game if I don't push a ton of damage this turn?
Now, it seems like the Murloc Knight will give the board advantage back to Trump, but it's still low on health. But at the same time, we know that Jab has limited access to burst damage. Right? He has the Doomguard, and the other option is to use PO. And when you don't have already a board control, then you can't play it when you have a Doomguard in hand. This is why he also kept his card in hand yesterday. When he did draw, he had like 0 cards in hand. He tapped into a abusive sergeant and held another card in hand just to get a chance of drawing Doomguard, then discarding 2 other cards and saving up a potential PO in his hand for a 9 damage burst. But in this situation, Trump is on 10, so Jab, even though he has the access to a minion on board, can't really push for lethal discern even with the perfect hand.
Yeah, he may be priced into actually just taking out this Murloc Knight with the Doomguard here, but that misses 5 damage. So this actually puts Trump down to 5. You have a 5 power minion play. If he doesn't have a heal, if he doesn't have a way to stop your Doomguard, then you actually just get to win this game. And then a lot of the ways he has to get back in this game are stuff like anti-Keelbot or, Keeper of Voldemort, and you get to keep playing. If he has a Peacekeeper, you have a 1/7. If he's a Keeper of Voldemort, yeah, he gets to kind of eat it with his Murloc Knight here. But if it's just something like anti-Keelbot, then you're not in a horrible spot here for Jab. There's still some top decks that can get you really into this game. Dark Peddler is one that comes to mind. Getting 2 cards off Dark Peddler plus an extra tap on your turn. Another Doomguard is really good here. So Jab is just trying to give himself the best chance to win from here.
Yeah, and he's doing right, of course. He can't play around Keeper of Ulduman, which allows Murloc Knight to trade without losing himself, without deleting himself from the board. So very important for Trump to have access to that card, and it seems like he's getting back into business.
Yeah, Lothar, not the worst card ever, puts a big body on the board. Now this Knife Juggler, there is a chance that this can get him back in the game. Say he were to draw something like Implosion on the next turn and he gets 2 draw steps at it, that can really get him in this game. You could use Implosion to take care of a minion and then spam a bunch of knives onto the board to take care of a lot of these, because there's a ton of 1 toughness minions on the board here. And you're going to see Trump, kind of take care of some of these. Maybe something like that's in the back of his mind, and these are just really good trades anyway. But Jab needs something like Implosion very quickly.
Or just... no, not this. But yeah, there's no other way you can play. He has to go for... the defensive argument. Yeah, but this is getting rough. This 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11 damage from Trump. And he gets the Coghammer, which allows him to build up an enormous taunt on the board. So combination of Quartermaster and Coghammer in the same turn will allow him to trade probably with the Spider, which will pop out from the egg. Which is very important to deal with those minions right now, because you will set up lethal in some time. He goes for the additional bust on the Quartermaster instead of the weapon. Interesting choice.
Yeah, this allows him to just trade his board in and set up lethal for next turn as well. So this is fine as well. I mean, he doesn't need to Coghammer this turn, because I don't think there's there might not be a 3-card combination that can kill him from Jab, because if he plays a Doomguard, then he can't, have stockpiled power overwhelming. He has to be like Doomguard tap into power overwhelming into something else, and there's no way that he can actually do that. So yeah, but either one of those ways to play is fine from Trump here, and Trump just continues to do what he's been doing so far here in this group. He's up 2-0. He's the only 2-0 player in this group, so he is 1 game away from clinching that move into the next phase of the tournament.
Yeah, 2-0 already against Jab, and he's left with the Druid, and Druid does Druid things, right? We saw Jab doing Druid things today, and maybe Trump will just jump back on the track and get those powerful openings right away, and just win it and straight go into a 3-0, which will be very important for Jab, because if he loses 3-0, the tiebreakers might affect him a little bit, I would want to say, but it might have a huge effect on his tiebreakers and just knock him out of the range of advance to the next group stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Jab does get one of the matchups that he probably wants. He gets to run his zoo deck into Druid. It's a decent enough matchup for him here, but Trump has got a decent opener here. He's got a Wild Growth in his opening hand. That's always a welcome sight when you're a Druid. Is he going to have enough to follow this up, though? He doesn't have a 4-drop just yet. Shade of Nexoramus is going to be a little slow in taking care of some of the things that are going on here, so Jab's going to have free reign here for the first couple turns. He's going to have an unanswered Flame Imp and Knife Juggler here. Great opening for him.
Yeah, Knife Juggler into Flame Imp is a great opener against any kind of Druid, even though the middle Druid seems to be really far behind in those situations because he doesn't have access to Leper Gnomes, doesn't have access to Druid of the Sabers who can trade with Zoo or just straight out race Zoo in those situations. So seems like Trump is in a huge disadvantage here, even though he has Wild Growth and huge minions that will be just played on the board right now. But at the same time, Jab has access to the tools that he needs to trade to have favorable trades.
This could be pretty big here. So Jab is going to set up a turn where he gets, I'm guessing, a giant Void Terror here.
Yes, but he needs, of course, to attack first.
Yeah.
Or he wants to eat the Abusive Sergeant, that's my guess.
Yeah, he wants to eat the Abusive Sergeant, try to get the knife here. If he gets really lucky, he can take care of the Shade. And he gets it too. He gets the 2 perfect knives. He also has the Iron Beak Owl behind this in case Trump has a taunter, which he's going to just have to do. Like, he's just priced into making this taunting Druid of the Call. There's nothing else he can really do. Jab has this Iron Beak Owl plus the Doom Guard behind it. I like charging here, actually. That was a great play by Trump. You just
being
can't.
passive doesn't really do much, especially when your opponent has access to cards like Abusive Surgeons, Implosions, Owls, and just punish you for playing passively.
Yeah, I think a lot of players would actually taunt up there, and they would get really punished by that Iron Beak Owl. So great play there by Trump, and he's got to just cycle a card that Agidrake here, but he knows that he's probably actually just dead, and there's multiple ways that Jab can end the game here this turn. He's got Defender of Argus for a little bit of a buff. He even has Doomguard in his hand, and Jab's going to get on the board. Now, this is important, you mentioned it. Even if he were to lose this match, which, he still can, Trump is still a match point for the rest of the match. Getting any wins is important for him here because it might come down to tiebreakers at the end of it, so every game counts.
Yeah, every game counts. Is very important for Jab to have that win under his belt, and of course he would like to win 2-3 against Trump, just make a reverse sweep with his Hunter and Druid right now. But at the same time, it's important to even get that additional wins right now, so to get a 2-2, to get a 3-2, even though Trump might win. But it's very important to get those small games.
And there is the Hunter deck that you mentioned from Jab. He's going to try to get back into this match and even it up at 2-2 with the deck that he's really known for. He's pretty famous for this Hunter deck. If anyone's ever watched his stream, he streams a lot of Hunter, and he's just known for building. I mean, this is the guy you go to for Hunter. You're like, hey, I need a Hunter deck this week. Like, what's the best way to build it? Jab's the guy you go to. Trump's hand needs an Innervate and needs it bad. Like, Trump has a pretty clunky hand here, but a Wild Growth off the top would be welcome. Darnassus would be welcome. Wrath is not that bad. It gives him a little bit of action here.
Wrath is not bad, and especially with those 2 Keepers of the Grove right now in their hand, it's smoothing out the curve. So he has turn 2 Wrath, turn 3 Keeper, turn 4 Keeper, into turn 5 Druid of the Claw, or just Harrison Jones in case there will be a weapon. So it doesn't seem bad, and I wouldn't blame Trump for just playing minions in the curve here with those 2 Keepers already out of the hand, even though he knows there might be 7 high mains later during the game.
Well, we know it's not going to be Bear Trap here. I'm going to guess that it's a Freezing Trap. It's actually the Snake Trap. I was going to say, Jab does play 3 different traps here in his deck. He's got a Snake, he's got a Bear, and he's got a Freezing. So let's remember a Snake Trap. So that could play a big role here in this game. It's a pretty good one to have with Knife Juggler.
Yeah, and now Trump is kind of in a pickle, because he wanted to play the Keeper of the Grove to have a board advantage and take a card from his opponent. And now he didn't do that. He didn't build anything. He just stalled for 1 turn. And the problem is he didn't also check for the potential trap. I mean, he knows that his opponent is playing Snake Trap and Bear Trap because we saw that in the previous games. But he doesn't know if it's a snake trap. So he didn't want to risk getting that bear trap out.
Right, yeah, that was a deliberate no attack from Trump there. He actually knows the traps that are in Jab's deck. He did his research from Jab's games yesterday and probably even watched the game today. So he knows to not attack there. And then here comes that curve you were talking about. He's going to just be using keepers and these Druid of the Claws. I mean, this is a pretty hard draw for Jab to get through over the next turn or two, but this Lotheb was definitely very welcome.
Yep, Molotov is a great draw for Jab because it also locks down the coin, so there's no Emperor turn possible, and of course Jab can't know that Trump doesn't possess the Emperor in hand, but from his perspective, it's a great way to just block those potential turns with Innervate, Dr. Boom, Coin Emperor, which are very impactful on the board.
Yeah, those are really good points, actually. This Lotheb doing a little more work than it even looks like. And I want to talk about something that Jab's done in this game. You know, he equipped his weapon very early and hasn't used it yet. Now, he is trying to get extra, charge counters on it from his from his traps. But he's also just, he knows the way this game is going to get played out over the next few turns and that it's going to be so good for him to be able to use it to take control of the board because Trump's hand has to be minion heavy the way that it played out. But Trump takes that away from him by playing a Harrison Jones to draw 2 cards here this turn.
Yep, that's true. And now he has also the access to the freezing trap, which is great. Jab has access to the freezing trap, which is great just to bounce back to Harrison Jones because it will probably have no effect on the board again. So I'm not surprised that he's dropping it right now. And what is just important, the card draw, the card advantage that Druid has no meaning at all if Jab is in control when it comes to just minions on board. The amount of damage, the amount of potential lethals that can be set up in 2 turns is just too much for Druid to Druid to take care of, and the amount of cards will not matter if you don't have enough mana to play them all.
Yeah. So what you're saying is you think that tempo and just board positioning is way more important than drawing extra cards in this matchup.
Exactly, because even though you have extra cards, if you don't draw them with in conjunction with Innervates, you can't really take advantage of those cards in your hand.
Yeah. Now Trump does have an Innervate in his hand. He does still have the coin, so he has a lot of extra mana afforded to him here over these turns. So this is interesting. I think what we're going to see here is an attack, and then a swipe is going to really clean up a lot of this. So he's going to get to take advantage. Knowing this is a snake trap, he's going to get a pretty good turn for himself here.
Yep. That's true. Yeah. Let's see how it will look from...
I wonder if he got everything off here. The turn did end. It didn't, the rope wasn't sitting at the end of it like he had stuff queued up. So hopefully for him, he got everything in.
It should, right? It should.
Yeah, he got everything in. Okay. Trump took his time that turn, took the full allotted amount of time there, and Jab is running a little low on steam here, but he does still have the board, and like you said, that's really important in this matchup. He's setting up a lot of damage here.
And Trump now has 7 mana. He has the access to Keeper of the Grove to kill off Huntermaster, and I was actually thinking about that instead of the Dr. Boom, because what Jab should do now is just go face for 8 damage. And of course hero power for 10 damage, so you have access to 13 damage right at this turn with the quick shot. I wouldn't blame him for using the owl right now too.
Yeah, he might need to just get the extra card. Getting a kill command at the right spot in this game could be the difference between him winning and losing, because he has to push his advantage now. Trump picking up a Dr. Boom's a big one too. Trump took a turn off of doing anything and affecting the board here, and he's gonna get punished a little bit by a ton of damage here from Jab.
Exactly, and now Trump is on 7 when he has to reach out to his Ancient of Law for a final, just a measure of healing himself out of range, but at the same time he's not doing anything against this board if the bomb will not get lucky. And it does.
It looks like the bomb does not finish off the pilot shredder here, and I gotta believe that Jab has no secrets left in his deck as well, so no value should be coming off of this mad scientist as well. And I like Trump starting his turn out by attacking with the bombs just to see what happens with all of this, because there's a chance that if something crazy bad happens with the bombs, that you're going to want to use the force of nature here to help clear, because a force of nature kills all 3 of these minions.
That's true.
And then you still get to armor up and push some damage here this turn too. So a couple options, or you can just play Darnassus to try to find that Savage Roar and get lethal in next turn in conjunction with the Force of Nature.
Okay, there's another option. That's very true. But for Jab, there's only one thing he can do. There's only hero power and Doctor Boom, nothing else. You can't really play around the combo from your opponent. You just have to deal the damage and pray that the opponent will not kill you.
Right. So we're going to see how Trump wants to play the rest of his turn here.
So there's 15 damage from Trump. He has access to 10 mana. 8 additional 2 damage will be given by the Keeper of the Grove. So that's 3 damage of lethal.
Sorry, my screen was a little frozen for a second. Now I'm back to being live. It looked like he did use the Force of Nature to clear there, and the Jab did just have the Dr. Boom. So Jab is setting up lethal next turn, though, if Trump doesn't do a heal here.
Exactly, and of course he doesn't know that there's kill command in his opponent's hand, so might not end up mattering if there will be a hover, an example. But there's still, of course, chances of taking the game back here. Trump needs to trade with the Dr. Boom. He needs to get lucky when it comes to the bombs. So it requires a lot of ifs, but it is possible.
Yeah, I like playing out as many minions as possible to give these bombs as many targets to hit as possible, and I love that attack there by that Darnassus into that bomb. Make sure there's 4 targets on the board. Jab does rip a beast here.
So if he gets 3 damage or 4 damage to the face with the bomb, he wins the game right now. You think he will go for it?
I mean, does he have a choice otherwise? Is there a way that he could play this game other than trying to go for the win here? I think he just has to, right? Well, the bomb does not go to face here.
He knew that Trump doesn't have the combo, right? So what if that 1 damage from the bomb that will be going to face will be more important than the chance of having a 25% from the bomb right now into 50-50% from the outcome of the damage, because your is at 3 and it could have been at 2. So
I see what you're saying there. Yeah.
So then you push your opponent to use the hero power, just not be in range of your own hero power, and still your opponent has to kill the bomb. And if it hits face, the bomb, if it hits face, it will kill most likely your opponent anyway, because you just need 1 damage, right? So the chances of, an example, if your opponent will spam 2 more minions on board, it's not that lower than if you just put the bomb in the situation when it has to hit 25% into a 50-50.
Yeah, and Trump is actually 1 damage off lethal here when you combine Force of Nature with Swipe. So he's actually going to cycle a Wild Growth here, looking for a way to just actually finish this game off. He was trying to find, Savage Roar, something to where he could try to win this turn against Jab, because giving Jab another draw step is so scary.
Yep, and if it will be an example, Unleash the Hounds, that's finishing up the game. If it will be Animal Companion into Hopper, that's finishing up the game. I'm not sure if he's playing Argent Horse Riders, but there's Animal Companion. So now he needs the Hopper. Oink oink. No!
It is not Hopper. It is not Hopper.
Trump takes it 3-0 and advances to the second group stage, although he still has 1 more match to be played in this day.
Yeah, he's gonna be anchoring our day. He's gonna be playing against 6-0 in the last match of the day, and that one could be quite important for multiple people, not just 6-0, but for other people as well. They might need 6-0 to lose, so might see some friendly competitive rooting against some people here. But as you said, Trump has moved to 3-0 here in his group, and he's been kind of dominating too. He's been great. He's looked awesome, been playing amazing. He moves Jab down to 2-2 now, so Jab's still in a decent enough spot. Controls doesn't control his own fate. Actually, he's going to have to wait and see what happens with everyone else. But we do have another match coming up after this one. Two players who are both 1-2, looking to get their second win to get kind of into this what's going to be just this huge mess of 2-2 players that we could possibly have at the end of it. And our next match, that's going to be Firebat versus Nyria. We can see if Firebat can kind of recover from what happened earlier. There might have been a little bit of a misstep in his match with 6-0. Maybe a little bit of tired, just missed something that was on board. May have just woken up, hadn't had his coffee yet for the day. I know that if I don't have my coffee or caffeine in the morning, I'm just not the same person. So,
well, we'll see how it goes. But hopefully he will be making a comeback and will be winning his next match. So every player will be at 2-2 because that's possible. I mean,
yeah, I definitely want to see the chaos.
Tiebreakers will mean a lot. Someone winning 3-1, someone losing 0-3. This will be something that will be defining who will be going into the next phase.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention that Jab did win a game in his last match, and that's a big thing too, because that could come down to tiebreakers, because he's already posted a 2-2 record, and it looks like that's what's going to come down to 2-2. Hope for tiebreakers. Hope it's good enough, because if Trump loses the last round, that means multiple people, at least 3 people, are going to be 2-2. So when we come back, we're gonna have a small break for you guys, and when we come back, we're gonna have that next match to see who's gonna join Jab at 2-2. That's gonna be Firebat versus Nyria. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Hearthstone and StarLadder and iLeague, and we'll be right back.